you could look it in the eye. If it had a body, you could shoot it. Everything you know about terror is about to go down the drain. The Blob. Terror has no shape. Rated R.
Starts Friday at a theater near you.
Back.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay.
Bruce Willis in 40 Stories of Sheer Adventure. Die Hard. Rated R.
Now playing at a theater near you.
You could reason with it. If it had a face, you could look it in the eye. If it had a body, you could shoot it. Now, man is no longer the supreme being. The Blob. Terror has no shape. Rated R.
Starts Friday at a theater near you.
No. Actor Kevin Dillon's the one trying to chase the massive glob away.
In 1958, audiences were introduced to one of the most ominous and malevolent forces ever to grace a movie screen. The Blob was an amorphous, ever-expanding, lethal pile of goo which sent theater-goers shrieking into the night. And for those of you who may have missed out on all the fun the first time round, not to worry. The new improved Blob will be coming to your town starting next week when the remake of the original is released.
The thing on that man's hand killed him, and then it killed Paul. And whatever it is, it's getting bigger.
Sticking pretty close to its predecessor, this updated version stars newcomer Shawnee Smith and Kevin Dillon taking the role that made Steve McQueen a star.
The character is really a great character. He's kind of cocky, wise guy. And he's a real wild character, so I could really sink my teeth into this part.
Although the finished film may scare audiences right out of their seats, for the actors, playing opposite a blob that wasn't even on the set required lots of imagination.
It's really hard to get the fear element when it's just a piece of tape that you're supposed to be afraid of. It's really tough, but... You know, you just got to really pump yourself up, and you got to think it's the blob, and you have to see the blob when you look at that tape.
However, they accomplish it. The finished product apparently works, and that may be good news for horror movie buffs, because just like fans in the 50s, fans today love to get scared, too.
She's dead. She's gone. It's over
hopeless.
for her. Boy,
That's
see
disgusting.
that Blob. I remember that was one of my all-time favorite films. I love
And you were
it.
just a little kid when you saw it, then, weren't you?
Barely.
All...
How sweet. Fresh meat.
If spectacular sights, incredible sound, and the sensation of being part of the movie is what you're all about, then this summer's special effects-filled films are the stuff your dreams are made of.
You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead.
Note they're carefully avoiding an area right here.
The company which specializes in the effects aspect of the movies is the Boss Film Corporation, which did the special effects on Die Hard, in which they built a miniature model of the Fox Plaza office complex and the helicopter that is attempting to shoot Bruce Willis off the top of that building.
We built the Fox Plaza in miniature in several different scales. There was certain parts of the miniature that had to be built in scale to a radio-controlled miniature because one of the shots shows a helicopter coming out of a fireball right towards camera, and then the helicopter itself then blowing up as a secondary explosion. That's probably one of the best shots we've ever done, really.
But is there any limit to this special craft?
I don't think there are any limits. It's just like there's no limits in what kind of movies you're going to make. So as long as people keep thinking of different concepts and different stories and situations, then there doesn't seem to be any limit to what you can do with effects.
As the new James Bond in The Living Daylights, fans of the series wondered how he'd stack up. Dalton did something right. The movie was one of the most successful Bond films yet, and now he's back in the latest installment of the spy saga. We have the behind-the-scenes scoop on the new movie.
It's been 1 year since Timothy Dalton dropped in as Agent 007. This time, he's landed at a friend's wedding for the opening sequence of License Revoked. This latest Bond film is being shot on location in the Florida Keys and in Mexico. Entertainment Tonight went to Churubusco Studios in Mexico City, where License Revoked has been in production.
595, take one.
In License Revoked, Dalton goes undercover and underwater as part of a personal mission to avenge the death of an old friend.
He goes and does what he believes is right. He avenges the murder of his friend's wife and the mutilation of his friend. But because it's personal, he perhaps loses a certain sense of cold professional objectivity. It becomes an embarrassment to both the Americans and the British, and they try to stop him, which is why it is entitled License Revoked.
But Bond cannot be stopped. An American model-turned-actress Carrie Lowell plays his accomplice, Pam Bouvier. Not just another pretty face, Bouvier is a former Army pilot with her own CIA contacts.
My character is somebody who actually helps Bond to go about his business. Instead of being a detriment to him, it's actually his aid. And there's a bit of tension in that, too, because Bond doesn't really think he needs anybody. But in this case, he does.
Robert Davi plays lead villain Franz Sanchez, a powerful Latin American drug lord. Villain number 2, played by Anthony Zerbe, becomes the central character in a horrific special effects death scene. But before leaving the set of License Revoked, Entertainment Tonight wanted to know more about the man behind this secret agent. Does Timothy Dalton have any secret passions of his own?
Well, I'd love to be able to sing well, and I'd love to go out into space.
License Revoked will wrap production in November, and we can look for it in theaters next summer.
Now, to the terrifying vision of the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 3. The Blob is back.
Starts Friday at a theater near you.
High marks to the film's co-stars. Alan Rickman is best known as a serious stage actor, but in his screen debut, he plays the cool, calculating terrorist that the audience learns to hate. Oscar-nominated actress Bonnie Bedelia, who plays Willis's wife, is the cool, level-headed captive whom the audience learns to respect.
I have a request.
What idiot put you in charge?
You did. When you murdered my boss.
The co-stars of Die Hard are natural adversaries. Alan Rickman plays a terrorist, while Bonnie Bedelia plays the wife of Bruce Willis.
I was Bruce's idea, I understand. I never met the man, and of course, immediately I had much higher respect for him than I had before. I went into the project loving the guy.
And Bedelia loved the movie.
I've been now to 3 different screenings with audiences, paying audiences, where I just come in and stand in the back, and they go nuts. It's like Disneyland. They're screaming and hissing and throwing popcorn at the screen and laughing and booing and cheering.
The villain that the audiences love to boo in this movie is Alan Rickman.
Who are you, then?
Just a fly in the ointment, Hans.
Die Hard is this British-trained stage actor's film debut.
It was a fantasy fulfilled. Go to Hollywood and make a Hollywood movie and jump into swimming pools and lie in the sun.
There wasn't much lying in the sun for Rickman's character this time around, however.
I did a lot of talking on phones.
You're most troublesome for a security guard.
Sorry, Hans, wrong guess.
And with a cool 20 million box office dollars, the moviegoers seem to like the adventure these 2 co-stars are taking them on.
Thank goodness the film doesn't take itself seriously, and that's why I think the audiences have such a good time. You know, it's a bit like going to a ball game or getting on a roller coaster.
Hit it again.
And this fall,
You could reason with it. If it had a face, you could look it in the eye. If it had a body, you could shoot it. The Blob. Everything you know about terror is about to go down the drain. The Blob. Rated R.
Starts tomorrow at a theater near you.
For full repairs,
or take a chance on an only partially repaired hull? A decision on the matter is expected later today, on Monday, July 27th, 1987.
Living Daylights. Take a look. British secret agent 007 is still chasing the bad guys. Do not fear. He is still escaping the enemy. And yes, he is still romancing the damsel in distress. But there is a difference in this 15th chapter of the James Bond thrillers. A new actor has been commissioned as 007. He is none other than Timothy Dalton, and we've been seeing a lot about him, and we welcome to the Today Show this morning. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
There is a very different James Bond that we see in this film, different from Roger Moore, even different from Sean Connery. How did you want to change the character?
Well, I didn't want to change the character. I wanted to try and bring to life in this film, The Living Daylights, the essence and spirit of James Bond's creator, Ian Fleming. So I went straight to the books, discovered what he'd written, tried to find Ian Fleming's James Bond.
And how is Ian Fleming's James Bond that you discovered in the books different from the James Bond that audiences have been watching the last couple of years?
Well, of course, every film is different. I mean, you can't compare a Dr. No or a From Russia with Love with a Moonraker. And our film is different, too. But I was astonished when I read Fleming. He wrote about a very complex man, not solely a man who was at home in a dirty, ruthless, cynical, pragmatic world. He wrote about a man who was full of feeling, sensitivity, a man of thought and intelligence, a very complex, contradictory man, a real human man. And it struck me also very much that I think too many of our heroes today, called superheroes, are blessed by a kind of magic, a supernatural quality that takes them away from real people. The real heroes come from us. They're men and women who in difficult circumstances can bring forth some extraordinary human quality. And that's the kind of Bond Fleming wrote about.
Your Bond also does some things that a lot of people, when they came out of the theater, they say, he looked startled. Bond looked human. He looked startled. I'd never seen a Bond do that. Was that a conscious effort on your part to make him more human?
Yes, you must be, because if you're human, if you can believe in the man, you believe where those areas of the film where imagination is stretched. If you can identify with the man, you'll identify with the story. You'll believe in it. I don't think, though, it's that different. If you remember all those years ago, I mean, Sean Connery used to sweat. He used to get dirty. I mean, in a difficult...
Not too dirty, Timothy.
Oh, you go back and watch. You look
he looked pretty good to me.
Well, he's a terrific-looking guy. But he used to get nervous. I mean, remember there was a scene once with the tarantula crawling over his shoulder. He leaned over and threw up after that. He was
but most people would have gone, yeah.
Very human. Very human.
Well, for those who have not seen the film, and the majority of people have not, we're going to take a look at a clip. And in this scene, you come face to face with the head of the KGB. Let's take a look.
Right. Sit down.
I take it that this is not a social call, 007.
Correct. You should have brought lilies.
May I ask why?
Smiertspionem.
Smiertspionem was a Beria operation in Stalin's time. It was deactivated 20 years ago.
2 of our agents are dead.
My condolences. We had nothing to do with it.
Where's Koskov?
He disappeared 2 weeks ago. I was about to have him arrested.
Why?
For misusing state funds.
Involving Whitaker?
That is a security matter and cannot be discussed. This damn
Ooh. Ripping off the woman's clothes. Now, there has been a lot of publicity about the fact that there are not a lot of women in this film. People are saying, have the women gone from the James Bond film? Have the gadgets gone? Set the record straight.
No, the women haven't really gone. Always in every Bond film, there's a lot of publicity that's associated with pretty, sexy, attractive ladies. But if you actually look back, Bond's always been involved with one woman, starting with Ursula Andress in Dr. No, right through, even he married the lady on Her Majesty's Secret Service. He's a romantic. I mean, he's a man that can't afford to be involved, but that extreme that he's pushed to because the world he lives in provokes the other extreme in him. He's always falling in love with one particular lady. I think what's nice and good about our film is the way that relationship is developed. It's very modern. It's understandable.
007 in The Living Daylights, the new Bond adventure, and in this half hour we're going to talk to him about stepping into this new role, which has been performed earlier by Roger Moore and Sean Connery. And also in this half hour we're going to show you 3 people who are the best at what they do, and what they do is juggle.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
I love those effects. 40 minutes after now. All right, all you James Bond fans, hang on to those radio transmitting tie-tacks, your cameras disguised as toothpicks, and your tear gas emitting fountain pens. 007's back, and we've got him this morning. Timothy Dalton, the new James Bond in the latest movie. It's called The Living Daylights, and it opens Friday nationwide, and that's why I haven't seen it. I don't go see movies until the public has. Welcome this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
We were just talking, you're on the circuit now. The new James Bond, everybody wants to talk to him. What does everyone ask you now?
Oh, well, questions are legion. You know, how did you get the part? What was it like playing James Bond? What does it mean to your life? A whole bunch of stuff.
How did you get the part?
That is a long story. I don't know if we've got time for that. It's a culmination of many, many years. I was asked, or at least approached 3 or 4 times in the past. And originally, I didn't want to take over from Sean Connery. He was far too good. He was wonderful.
Well, you must have been awfully young, too.
I was about 24, 25, which is too young. But when you've seen Bond from the beginning, you don't take over from Sean Connery.
Have you seen Bond from the beginning?
Well, I saw the early ones. I mean, who could forget Dr. No? I mean, that burst upon our consciousness was terrifically exciting.
How did you study for this role? Did you read all the Ian Fleming novels?
Well, I mean, first of all, you are dictated to by the script you've got to play. But beyond that, there's only one way to do it, and you can't create it out of the air, out of abstract. You go back to the creator.
Are you
Ian Fleming.
Well, are you a different Bond than Sean Connery and Roger Moore?
I would think, without question. I've no idea how they approached the roles, but for me it was to go back to Fleming, the creator of James Bond, and try and capture the spirit, the essence of his Bond, and make it thoroughly modern.
Well,
and right for this film.
The face may be different, but some things about Bond never seem to change. He loves ladies, and he loves that perfect martini. And we've got a little clip now to show you, what is it? Shaken, Not Stirred. Shaken, Not Stirred with his new co-star, Marion Dabo. Take a look.
Na zdrowie. Did I get it right?
Perfect. What's the matter? Cara, it's time I told you the truth. I'm not a friend of Yorgis. I'm a British agent looking for him. He's betrayed us all, Cara. The Russians, the British, even you.
Timothy, in this Bond film, is it more than coincidental that Bond is no longer bed-hopping considering the AIDS epidemic?
No, it's not. If you think back on all the films, even though they've often been publicized by lots of glamorous, gorgeous ladies, he always has one involvement. I think what's different and special about ours is that involvement is better developed. It's much more real and human, much more modern. And I think Mariam, who you just saw, does a terrific job.
You're from the classical Shakespearean theater in England. Do you plan on doing more commercial projects? Do you want to do another Bond?
Well, first of all, we've got to make sure this is a success. And so far in Europe, it's been breaking all box office records, so we can, I think, feel pretty good about that. It's nice to be in a success.
Well, congratulations.
But, you know, the theater is important, and I'll be going back to the theater this winter.
It must be an awfully fun part. Congratulations. Thank you for joining us, Timothy.
Thanks very much.
And it's now 44 minutes after the hour. Coming up...
This year is the 25th anniversary of the James Bond 007 films. The latest Bond saga, The Living Daylights, stars Timothy Dalton as the man with a license to kill. In this scene in our exclusive movie preview, Bond faces his archenemy Whitaker, played by Joe Don Baker. Bond appears to have the drop on his opponent, but Whitaker still has a trick or two up his remote control.
I've come for Koskov.
Well, hell, you can have him. As soon as I get my opium. Now, where is it?
Up in smoke.
You burned up $500 million?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's too bad, Bond. You know, you could have been a live rich man instead of a poor dead one.
You're finished, Whitaker. If the Russians don't get you, the Americans will.
Yeah. You know, Meade should have taken another 35,000 casualties. Could have ended the rebellion right then and there. Hell, Grant would have done it. Come on.
All right, you've had your 8. Now I'll have my 80.
Oofta. This latest installment in the James Bond saga will open July 31st nationwide.
While you were sleeping last night, some wizards who are famous for their movie special effects were creating an exotic new galaxy for a television series. And they are going to blast a 5 million metric ton spaceship at warp speed through hyperspace right into your living room.
Star Trek, The Next Generation, is a new generation of characters. Generation in technology.
Welcome to the Enterprise. This is nothing like any vessel I've seen before.
To make the Enterprise and all the wonders of space like nothing ever seen before, the producers of Star Trek went north from Hollywood to San Rafael, California, where they found the wizards.
We may, that middle flame might be able to pull back out some.
The wizards are these men, the technicians at Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, a special effects production house owned by movie maker George Lucas. Everywhere you find reminders of their past productions. The model car from Back to the Future, the bicycle which flew through E.T., the extraterrestrial, the ship which flew through Cocoon, and of course, a space station from Star Trek.
100, 150, 200, 250.
Right now, ILM has its hands full making magic for the new Star Trek TV series. On what's called a motion control stage, technicians create the effect of the Enterprise flying through space by keeping the starship stationary and moving the camera towards it, using a time-lapse exposure technique. The process negative shows the motion of the ship to be adjusted through computerized orders before the final shooting. On another stage, simultaneously, more wizards are making what will be the ship's shift into warp speed. Sorry, this special effect is under wraps until the series airs.
We try and do whatever people want us to do to put shots into their films that wouldn't be practical to get in reality or else just don't exist.
For the crew at ILM, the answer to the question, "What did you do at work today, dear?" might be, "Today I burned down a village on the far point planet." Meanwhile, the men at ILM who create the designs for the starships and shuttlecraft continue to pursue new dreams.
All of us here in the art department are Star Trek fans or Star Trek aficionados.
Well, the producers are hoping that a good bit of the country is Star Trek aficionados. Already, this series has been sold in more than 160 markets.